Hello, and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And it is that time again. The NFL draft is just around the corner. And as we did last year, it's time to bring some NFL draft content. And like we did last year, we're going to be starting with an NFL mock draft, coming full circle from where we were just a year ago. Tim, you've been doing your chain reaction thing, so we've been filling the void with baseball, but now it's time because football's still king. NFL draft. Let's do it. You ready to run the table?
Let's run it. I'm happy to be back and excited to get into draft stuff. Brings back some memories.
Let's do it. All right. So how we're going to be doing this is like we did before. We are going to alternate picks. I'll take the first, Tim, you'll take the second, so on and so forth. But of course, I'll be taking both of the Packers first round picks because, Tim, I'm not letting you take the Packers picks. That is all my area.
At this point, I'm not even sure if I would let the Packers front office take the Packers picks, but I guess you kind of have to.
Oh, quiet you. Anyway, let's get underway with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, for me, I think they should go with Evan Neal and take an offensive line, somebody to protect Trevor Lawrence. But what I think they're going to do is take Trayvon Walker of Georgia. He's been rising up the draft boards pretty rapidly, and it's either between him or Aiden Hutchinson. I think the Jags go Walker, which, Tim, I think that makes your choice pretty easy for the two at Detroit Lions.
Yeah, that definitely opens up with Aiden Hutchinson not going number one. It's pretty hard to not take him at number two. In general, in terms of overall talent, he's sort of been like a consensus number one, but we really haven't had a consensus number one because everyone's been all over about who they think the Jags should take. But yeah, I'd say that the Lions, if Hutchinson falls to him, I see there's no reason why they don't take him.
Now we're on to the Houston Texans. And I find it funny that Pro Football Focus has their
I love their needs.
Every position. Literally everything. So
I mean, they're not wrong.
According to PFF, there's literally no wrong move they can make. But I think they go Kayvon Thibodeau here just because with Lovie Smith as a defensive coach, he'll want to establish that defense like they did with Mario Williams way back when, with J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney. It's kind of wash, rinse, repeat with history for the Texans. So Thibodeau at 3. Now that leaves you at the New York Jets, number 4.
Yeah, this one's definitely a little bit interesting just because I feel like there's a couple different ways they could go, but I have a rather specific opinion myself in terms of the fact of them having like the multiple first round picks. I think with the type of talent that he is, even though it's not necessarily listed as a position of need, I like them going Kyle Hamilton here because I think he'd be a huge boost to their defense. And it always helps to have really good guys over the top. And I think Kyle Hamilton can be a real big playmaker on a Jets defense that definitely can use some help.
That's true. Kyle Hamilton is rated as high as he is for a reason, and I think he could definitely help them out. Now, with the other New York team, the Giants, you see their biggest need is offensive line. You also have edge rushers and linebackers. I think it makes sense that they take one of the 3, Cross, Ekonwu, and Neal. I think here I'll go with Evan Neal. That's just based on personal preference.
Yeah, everybody's got a lot to say about those 3 different tackles and who they think is not only who they think is the best, but who they think that teams will think is the best and take first. But Evan Neal is certainly not a bad pick for the Giants. I would say none of those 3 is like a standout pick compared to the rest. They all have their strengths and weaknesses and what they can bring to a team. But then you fall to 6 where the Panthers come on the board. And this one's very interesting
for me, before you make that pick. If this was me picking, there is one guy that I would glaringly take over the rest, but this is not my choice. And Tim, you're on the clock.
You know, it's different to see like the way I had my opinion like a couple of weeks ago compared to where I fall now. Some of the things that I have not only seen from like people talking, but then some little interviews. I have a feeling that the Panthers are actually going to take the big shot to jumping and taking the first quarterback off the board. I was very much against it early on. I thought they were going to stick with what they had, But the more that I've heard lately, we've even heard some things from Sam Darnold where it seems like his future is very up in the air himself. I think that they're going to take Malik Willis off the board first.
And that's the guy who I was talking about, because I would have taken Malik Willis as well. The Panthers quarterback situation is not exactly the best.
And I think they just need to go with a guy, even if they don't play him this year. They need to take him and see what they can do with him learning under guys like Sam Darnold and Cam Newton if he's still there. It's just
it's a big if he's still there. If he picks,
it is a big if, yes. But I think it's the right pick for them to go with this, because to me it was either I think they go with the quarterback or they trade back. So for the sake of this, I'm going with the quarterback.
And now we got the Giants again. I had them going Evan Neal with their first pick. Now that they've taken care of that, I think they pick up big George Karlaftis of your Purdue Boilermakers.
Yes, sir.
He's a big guy that can get around the edge, hit the quarterback, and if you take offense with one pick, you might as well just go defense in the other. So, and I think Karlaftis can be a big shock here.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that was one of the ones really early where I thought I was like, I really think that the Giants could go tackle edge with their two picks. And to me, what you've done makes the most sense, whether it be Karlaftis or another guy. That's going to be interesting to see, because it all depends, I think, where some of the other edges fall on the board. But I would not be particularly sad if I was a Giants fan and they take Karlaftis. I think Karlaftis definitely has some interesting upside. Now we fall to 8 with the Falcons, and the Falcons have a lot of needs at different places. But for me, I think with everything that's happened over the past year or two, I think the glaring obvious need is wide receiver. And I think it's going to be really hard for them to pass up on missing one of the top wide receivers at this spot here. So I actually think that with the way that looking at Marcus Mariota as your quarterback, with the way everybody play, I think that they're actually going to go with Garrett Wilson here. I feel like he's the more all-around guy. He's not quite as tall as Drake London, but I think that he's got a lot more to offer in terms of route running, some of that release, and just getting open in general. So I think Garrett Wilson will be the better fit for the Falcons here at the 8th pick.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Great minds think alike. I had Garrett Wilson to Atlanta at 8, just because if you got that big guy in Kyle Pitts running up the seam, you have the technically sound wide receiver and the talented wide receiver in Garrett Wilson on the outside to help Marcus Mariota. Now we got the Seahawks at 9 from the Broncos. Now, with this one, Pete Carroll has been very vocal about what they want to do. There are a couple good cornerbacks still available. Derek Stingley still available. Ahmad Gardner, they call him Sauce for a reason. Trent McDuffie, but I think the CB1 on the board is Sauce, and you really can't go wrong with a guy with that nickname. So I think Sauce Gardner is going to head the next rendition of the Legion of Boom with what Pete Carroll is going to try to do with that Seattle Seahawks team.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me, because I think that they still have at least a decent amount of offense. Obviously, with the trading of Russell Wilson, it's going to look very different. But I think the defense is a real big focus for them, and getting a top cornerback is going to help them a lot, because their pass defense has not been good. And then we go to the New York Jets once again at the 10th pick. This is one that I see that could be a potential trade back. I'm not sure if I necessarily see it here. But any team that has 2 picks, especially in the top 10, you always see the chance for a trade back. It's really hard to predict those, especially the ones that happen on draft night. But I actually think that, especially with the Jets coaching staff, some of the problems that they've had and guys that they had, I do not think they're going to go with a wide receiver here. I think they've got a half decent wide receiving core right now that maybe they look to pick up somebody later. I don't think at the 10th pick. I look to them to load up on defense here. And given the fact that you went and took Sauce Gardner off the board at 9, I actually think I'll go with Derek Stingley Jr. here at the 10th pick. I think having that cornerback safety in those first 2 picks for them is really going to help shore up that defense. And I think that could be a big missing piece for them to make a pretty big step in this upcoming season.
I completely agree. I think if you get that shutdown corner on the outside with Sauce off the board, Derek Stingley is still there. So why not the Jets take a shot on him? You get your cornerback 1 for the future. Now we have the Washington Commanders. And this can be an interesting pick because right now I'm looking at two guys, Trent McDuffie being one, and of course, Drake London being the
I'm kind of
other.
glad that you have this pick because I was all over the place and what I thought that the Commanders might go with. So I will let this one fall in your hands happily.
Well, cornerback is a glaring need for the Commanders with,
Did we see three cornerbacks taken in a row?
with William Jackson spearheading that Commanders secondary at the cornerback. I have heard a lot of complaints from some various Commanders fans about their cornerback and their secondary in general. But it's very tempting to pass up on Drake London, pairing him with Terry McLaurin. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I think if the Commanders do get London, I doubt they'll be upset about that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to be upset about a talented wide receiver, especially a guy with size like Drake London that can bring you a bit of a different dynamic on offense, pairing up across Terry McLaurin. It just adds a different dynamic that hopefully they can get Carson Wentz acquainted to lead that offense with quite a few weapons there. Then you've got the Minnesota Vikings falling at 12. They've got quite a few needs here and there. I think the offensive line is definitely a pretty big need for them, but they've got like those inside needs where, as it says, it highlights at guard and center. But I'm not sure if they're going to go there at the 12th pick. I actually have a little bit, I don't know if there's a little bit of a reach, but I have a feeling that they might be actually looking to shore up that edge. And I think they might go with Jermaine Johnson the second here.
Really?
It's a little bit of a stretch. We'll see if that actually happens, but edge is a very popular position in this draft. And I think if you had some of those other edges that fell to there, I think they would go there. It's very possible that they go, we don't have too many highly rated guards, and really only one pretty highly rated center. It's very possible that they could, the other pick that I could have had at this position was Tyler Linderbaum. I thought it was very possible, but I decided to go with a little bit of a surprise and have them take Jermaine Johnson the second in this one.
If I may give my 2 cents on this, talking to some Vikings fans, the consensus there is get a corner, and they're hoping Sauce Gardner stays available.
Yeah, that's one of the things is corner definitely was high on the list, but with with those guys falling off the board, you could go with McDuffie. But I have a feeling if those first two are off the board by then, I'm not sure if they'll jump on McDuffie there. It's very possible. This is one where they could go in a couple different places.
That's what I have. I have them jumping on McDuffie, but you have them taking Jermaine Johnson. And now we got the Houston Texans again. And if we
need everywhere.
And if we look at what I did at 3, taking Kayvon Thibodeau, I think it only makes sense that you get some protection for Davis Mills. You get your young guy. Why not protect him? Ikem Ekwonu, an offensive tackle from North Carolina State. Why not protect your young quarterback? It only makes sense.
Yeah, and he's a guy that has shot up all the way into like top 3, even I think occasionally at like a number 1 for some people. Some of those tackles have really been all over the place and where they think that team's really going to take them. But then we've got Baltimore here at the 14th pick. And Baltimore's got a couple of different needs, but I would say with their needs and who's still on the board, I don't think McDuffie can fall any further than that with the other cornerbacks taken off the board. Cornerback is definitely a pretty decent need for them. And I think if he falls to 14, I don't see any reason not to take him.
Why not shore up that secondary a little bit more? With what I have Baltimore doing a lot of, I think that they take Charles Cross if he's still there. If, you got Lamar Jackson that's running around a lot, why not go protect him?
Yeah, that's very fair. He's going to be on the move a lot, so you want to have as many talented guys on that O-line as you can.
But now we got Philly. Are they going to take a wide receiver as they're wont to do? I don't think they do here. I have them taking Nakobe Dean of Georgia. I like what Nakobe Dean brings to the table. I understand Devin Lloyd is still there, another linebacker from Utah, and is ranked ahead of Dean on Pro Football Focus's board. Yeah. But I like Nakobe Dean's skill set the best out of all these linebackers in the class. I like how he ranges side to side. I like how he can get after the ball carrier. He's very rangy. And I think you can't go wrong with Nakobe Dean at 15. So, Tim, you got the Saints at 16.
Yeah, to be fair, like about your last pick, I don't think I think they couldn't really do much wrong whether you went with Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean there. I don't think either one of those
down
is
to
a
personal
bad pick.
preference.
Yeah, exactly. It's personal preference, what you see individually out of those guys. But the Saints put themselves in a pretty interesting position here with quite a few needs, especially some on offense. And I think that they're going to go with a guy that they can hopefully get some results out of now. And I think that this is actually where Chris Olave is going to fall. I think they want to go with a wide receiver.
Ooh.
And I think that Olave provides another sort of
even
fire
with
starter.
Williams on the board.
Yes, because I think they want the results now as opposed to seeing what Jameson Williams can do coming off of that injury and exactly when he's going to come back. So I think Jameson Williams, that injury does make him fall a little bit. I definitely see him falling off in the next couple of picks. But I do like them going with Olave here. I think they like that speed.
Well, balls, Tim. That's what I wanted the Packers to do.
Well, I hate to break it to you. I think unless the Packers trade up, they're not going to be able to get one of those top 3, top 4 wide receivers. I think some of them are going to fall here.
Well, nuts. I mean, the Saints really can't go wrong with Chris Olave. He's a very speedy guy. He can absolutely fly. And if you pair him with Michael Thomas, a hopefully healthy Michael Thomas, and a hopefully healthy Jameis Winston, who knows, that offense could be flying again. But now I have the LA Chargers, and this pick with the top 2 guys, Cross and Raymond, you got to go with Cross. They would be thanking their lucky stars that they can protect Justin Herbert, and now they get the guy to do it. So I don't really think it requires too much thinking on this one.
Yeah, it makes complete sense to me. You want to add more protection for Justin Herbert there. Then we fall to the Eagles at 18. Who did you have the Eagles taking first in there?
I had
gotcha.
The Eagles.
You went with
Nakobe Dean.
Gotcha. So that definitely shortened things a little bit with who we've got sort of in this.
Like to go with a wide receiver, Mr. Howie Roseman.
Oh, that is really tough. I'd say, yeah, I'd say given all of their options, and I would see them going two different ways here.
Philly taking the receiver.
Like, will it go well this time? I'd see them going 2 options here.
You know what the definition of insanity is?
The Philadelphia Eagles or their fan base. I don't know. I see them either going with the wide receiver, or I could see them potentially going back and dipping back into a little bit closer to the bottom of the barrel in the cornerback department. But I think with this pick, I see, yeah, I would see them either going with Jameson Williams or Andrew Booth Jr. here. But I think I'm going to have him taking Jameson Williams because he has obviously a lot of talent. You did it again. Yes, I do. I'm a fan of my wide receivers. And I think that the Eagles
more so the Eagles are.
Yes, they also are a fan of picking wide receivers, especially ones that are a little bit of a risk. Hopefully Jameson Williams can come back healthy and actually provide some stuff, some good quality play for them. But we'll see what happens on that level.
Well, Tim, now we get back to the Saints, and you had them taking Chris Olave at 16. I think it's time for me to shake this draft up a little bit and scroll down a fair way. Not going to say anything until after I do it.
We're going down.
Unless I pass it. I did not pass it.
Okay.
Matt Corral, the strong arm QB from Ole Miss, to be the next franchise quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. Jameis is great. Jameis has a lot to offer in terms of arm strength, but
it definitely doesn't quite seem that he's the long-term option.
Is he the long-term solution?
Yeah.
So I think the Saints go pick up Matt Corral.
Yeah, I could see this. This is definitely a big potential. They're one of those teams that definitely has the ability. They've kind of got a somewhat solution now. You're just not sure if that's quite
and Taysom Hill.
Yeah, and he's definitely an option. Not necessarily going to say if he's one of their best options, but it gives him.
No, there's reports that he's going to focus on other positions,
which I think makes sense with his versatility. But then we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at pick 20. They're an interesting one.
Gone to Super Bowl. Steelers going
I'm
Super Bowl?
I'm not so positive about that one.
Steelers going Super Bowl.
We'll leave that one up to the peanut gallery and what they may think about that.
The Yinzers.
But for this one, I see them looking to beef up some of that offensive line. I think with the signing of Trubisky, I think they'll hold off to at least give him a year to seemingly prove himself, see what he's got what it takes. If not, then I see them maybe dipping into the quarterback room next year. But with that being said, I actually think that they are going to take the little bit of a risk to go down to the mid-major level and take Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa at tackle. And I think that he can potentially be a solid guy on the outside for him, whether or not he becomes a starter sort of pretty much right away going into this year, or whether or not he's got a little bit to learn to build into that position. But I think he's got what it takes to play at the next level, pretty high level.
Yeah, I mean, if you get your quarterback, if you think Trubisky is the solution, if you think he's the solution for right now, and if you want to put that off a year, I think Trevor Penning has.
I think it's worth it to them to put that off now, because the quarterback group that's coming in for next year's draft has the potential to be very, very talented. So if Trubisky doesn't work out, you end up with another top 20, top 15, maybe even top 10 pick. Then you really have the ability to look at potentially drafting your long-term quarterback. So I think they hold off for this year.
So now we go with New England. What are they doing? Like, what have they been doing?
I don't know. They've been
and that's the million-dollar question.
So far.
And just very confusing in general. You lose J.C. Jackson to the Chargers and you don't pay the man. So I think this is going to charge a lot of what their draft decisions are here. And I'm going to go down and reach for Andrew Booth. They didn't address it in free agency at all.
No, they haven't addressed much of anything in free agency, really.
I don't know.
After their big free agency year last year, Belichick decided that he would take a break with the checkbook this offseason.
And Tim, I'll take 22 with the Packers, so I'll give you 23 with Arizona. And then we can go back to our regularly scheduled programming. But now with my Green Bay Packers. Oh, boy. Which wide receivers are still there?
Yeah, you've got Treylon Burks. You've got Sky Moore.
Yeah. You're going to have to keep scrolling a while. All right, enough scrolling. Now, do we want to reach for Burks? I think 22 is a little bit high to take him. Green Bay also has the 28th overall pick. We have that to spend. So actually, I think we go with.
We got a whole lot of suspense here.
Got a whole lot of suspense here. Because there's really not a bad choice. We could go Lloyd, Wyatt, Davis.
There's a couple different ways you could go. Yeah.
I need to be more decisive. I'll go Jordan Davis.
I mean, you talk about a beast on the defensive line. He's just a massive dude that can bring not only power, but a decent amount of speed to the table as well.
I think if you pair him with Kenny Clark in the middle, and then you get Gary and Preston Smith on the outside, I think the Packers defense is already looking pretty good as it is. I like their secondary. I like where they're at, but let's beef it up a wee bit more. So Tim, who you got for Arizona?
So Arizona is definitely in a bit of a weird position because they've got like quite a few needs in a bunch of different places. But with the cornerbacks taken off the board, I'm not sure I really see them dipping much lower than who's on the board right now. I think what they need right now is help on some of that run defense. And oddly enough, you went with Jordan Davis at 22. I think I've got both the Georgia defensive linemen going back to back and go with Devontae Wyatt here at 23, because he is another solid presence that, of course, just based on the pure physical anomaly that Jordan Davis was, he kind of got overshadowed a little bit, but still a very, very solid defensive lineman that's going to be able to hopefully help the Cardinals plug up some of that run defense and build an overall more solid defensive line, hopefully with a little bit less injuries than they dealt with this past year.
Hey, and that's okay. You got the Georgia Trenchmen and the defensive line going back to back, Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt. Now, Tim, I got to ask you a question.
Yes,
How
sir.
about them Cowboys? What are they doing at 24?
You could have stopped at what are they doing, and I still wouldn't have an answer.
Well,
But
Tim, for the sake of this mock draft, it's your pick.
yes, this is indeed true. And this one, the Cowboys, who were once sort of the staple of offensive line talent in the NFL, with a really couple of those solid guys throughout the late 2010s. In the past couple of years, we've got some of those guys getting older, not necessarily paying some of the guys. So they're definitely not the team that they once were. And I think that they could definitely use some help on that front. So I think with what they have, I think they take a little bit of a stretch and go with Bernard Raymond. I mean, obviously his rank is up there, but he's definitely not necessarily a well-known prospect coming out of Central Michigan. But I think they really want to focus on trying to get that offensive line a little bit better. Obviously, not only to help out Zeke and Tony Pollard, but also to give Dak a little bit more time to work with some things and whatnot. I think it would be a very valuable pick for them to go and beef up more of the offensive line.
I actually really have to agree because of the loss of Lyle Collins to Cincinnati. That's a hole that you have to fill. And why not go get Bernard Raymond and fill it now? Now you got Buffalo, Bills Mafia, Sam Howell. No, I'm kidding. Josh Allen's not going anywhere. So
hey, I mean, they lost their backup quarterback when Mitchell Trubisky got signed away. Got to fill up that backup role.
oh, yes, I'll lose my mind and piss off Bills Mafia by taking Sam Howell. Yes, that's a great idea. So we'll see what's on the market. Treylon Burks is definitely a guy that is there, but
Is he there?
with Devin Lloyd still available, I think they go best left on the board.
If Devin Lloyd falls to 25th, it's going to be hard for them not to take him. He's a really talented dude. He has the ability, if teams decide that he's their guy over some other guys, he could potentially even go like top 15. So at the 25th pick, that's a real valuable pick for them. And it sure would help make their defense just that even step better than they were this past season, which obviously they were a very, very solid defensive team to begin with.
Yes. So, Tim, now you're on the clock at 26 with the Tennessee Titans.
The Tennessee Titans, what a team. I would say at this point, with the overall talent that he has, the needs of the Titans, I can't see Tyler Linderbaum falling much further. I think with him being pretty much by and far the most talented center in the draft, he pretty much has to go within these first 25, 30. And I don't see them passing up, especially with them having the more specific need for it. I think it's even possible that some teams may take a shot on him earlier, potentially 15 to 20. But if he falls to 26, I'd say it's definitely smart for the Titans to be able to take that, help their offensive line a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Tyler Linderbaum is comparable to Creed Humphrey of last year. And who knows? I think he has the talent to
has the ability to make a difference quickly.
Yeah, and with the way the Titans are built, Ryan Tannehill and King Henry, you definitely want to give them some more space to run. But now, if you didn't take Linderbaum here,
then it would have been a buy and out pick for the Buccaneers. Absolutely.
Then it would have been the Bucs. However, Zion Johnson is definitely there, and I think the message is clear: protect Grandpa Brady. Of course.
Hey, you got to keep him as healthy as possible if you want a chance.
Hey, he's coming back. He's running it back one more time. Now, of course, we got the Packers again. I'll take that pick. Tim, you'll take both of the Chiefs picks. Keep the continuity intact. Sam Howell, anybody? Dude, imagine if I accidentally select him and screw this mock draft.
The Green Bay Packers go with their next random rookie quarterback.
Oh my God. I think
the entire Packers fan base would just have simultaneously heart attacks and strokes on the spot. It would be absolutely unreal. But thankfully, I do not, as much as I don't trust the Packers front office to make.
Hey, we're not that dumb.
Picks, They're not. I agree.
Shut
They
up,
are
Traylon
not.
Burks. We're getting a weapon for Rodgers. Enough said.
It definitely makes sense, even with the addition of Sammy Watkins. You want to be able
Sammy
to.
Watkins.
Hey, you got week 1 Sammy Watkins, and then you'll see what else he can provide for the rest of the season.
I think it'll be fine. Aaron was pretty excited
yeah.
about getting Sammy Watkins, and I think we got him on a value deal, 1 year, $4 million. I think it'll work out well for us.
I think he definitely has the ability to fill at least a little bit of the spot left by Marquez Valdes-Scantling when he got signed in free agency. But here we got back-to-back picks with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hey, Marquez Valdes-Scantling's new team.
This is true, which of course they still do have wide receiver as a need. But then, of course, you look at defensive line and cornerback as well. Not a whole lot in terms of what's left for a lot of those. But I would say since they have back-to-back, doesn't really matter who you take first. With this first pick, I'm going to have them having a little bit of a reach with some of the, especially not a whole lot going on with his draft stock overall, but he has made it all the way up here. I think they're going to go and try to beef up wide receiver room just a little bit more and go with Sky Moore. I'd say out of Western Michigan, he's a guy that I think can find his way into sort of a specific role wide receiver, which you see quite a few of those Kansas City Chiefs have done in the past. Obviously now with Tyreek Hill, there's definitely more roles to fill or more spaces to fill. And on the second pick, I see them looking to try to help
Kansas
that
City
secondary.
Chiefs Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Tim, who you got?
I see them beefing up the secondary here, and I think that I've got them going with Kyer Elam out of Florida. I think that they just definitely need some more help on that secondary. Their defense was very up and down, as we saw. They got off to a really rough start, but then improved. But I think their defense is really what's going to potentially put them over the edge, especially with the changes for their offense. So I think that cornerback is something they could definitely use.
Yeah, I can't argue with either one of those picks. You filled a few needs for the Chiefs, and they'll try to get right back to where they were, the Super Bowl. But now I got the Bengals, and I scrolled down for a little bit because I think what you have to do is protect Joe Burrow.
I could not agree more.
Green.
Yeah, with some of those guys off the board already, with Linderbaum,
I don't think it matters.
Zion Johnson.
It doesn't matter that Zion
those
Johnson's
two guys off
gone.
the board, I think you automatically have to go to the next option and go with Kenyon Green.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that Johnson's gone. Doesn't matter that Linderbaum's gone. You protect Joe Burrow. So
makes sense.
So now you got the Lions.
Yes, to wrap up the first
round. Howell.
No. That is one of the things that I have stuck true pretty much throughout this entirety of the offseason. I do not see the Lions going with a quarterback here.
You don't?
Yes, I see them rolling with Goff. I see them going with whatever season they have. I feel bad for their fan base, but I don't think they're going to go with one here. And also,
is this based off of what the Lions will do or what you'll do?
This is based off what I think that they will do.
Okay, if you were the general manager of the Detroit Lions, would you take Sam Howell or Desmond Ridder or Kenny Pickett? Because I was
going to say neither. If I was picking out of those three, I would go with Kenny Pickett. But I don't know. I just don't see it. I mean, if there's something about the Detroit Lions, they're certainly not known for going with quarterbacks. Obviously they had Stafford for so long and they never needed to. But I just don't know if I see them going with it here. It's so do a little scroll there and see what some of these options are for these last couple. Because it's really tough. I definitely don't see them going down that low other than obviously some of the quarterbacks that are down there. But
I have seen Jahan Dotson here.
Yeah, it's definitely a potential. I think
Walker maybe a running back in the first round.
I don't see any running backs really taken in the first round with the teams that are there and their specific needs. Plus the overall talent of running backs.
Just to clarify, I'm not suggesting a running back to the Lions. They don't need a running back, just a running back in the first round in general, because none have been taken.
Always possible. Yeah. I think with this one, I think they could definitely use some help in their secondary. I think if I'm going to go with a guy outside of a quarterback here, I would have to go with Jalen Petre from Baylor. I think that he has the ability to help them in some ways in the secondary there, especially with you're going to have the resurgence or hopefully coming back of Jeff Okudah, who will hopefully help them actually shore up that since he dealt with that injury. But I think they could still use some more help there. So I think it might be a little bit of a reach to not take a quarterback, but something just tells me that the Lions aren't. So I just got to go with my gut there.
Yeah, who knows? And that concludes our first mock draft of this NFL season. So we'll take a look at what we did. Just a quick little scroll through, just to give y'all one last look.
You definitely have a lot of guys that are sort of in a bunch of different places based on, I mean, obviously you look at all the different experts, and even all the different experts can't really decide for a whole lot of teams. There's a lot of different guys that can go anywhere within the range of about 10, 15 picks. So this is what we thought. Obviously, a lot of people have different opinions. If you've got guys that you think that are locks for certain spots, especially top 5, top 10, let us know. It's definitely going to be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. We love your feedback.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be real interesting to see, because there's also a possibility that the order will not look the same as this come draft night.
Yeah, for this,
so
that
that definitely
first mock draft, we just kind
of
of go what the order is, just straight through, run through the first 32 and see what happens. We will obviously be breaking down more draft content going position by position, and we'll be coming at you with a mock draft right before the actual draft, considering that the draft is still a ways away and things can definitely change from then. But that's all we got for this episode. It's good to be covering NFL draft content, go for full circle from last year. And hey, who knows? We'll be covering the positions, we'll be covering the draft, and let's see how it shakes out. But until next time, like and subscribe for more Running the Table content, and we out.